Star Wars The Last Jedi is the most divisive film in the franchise. There's no getting around that fact, it just is. Some fans will go to bat for this movie no matter what, while other fans despise The Last Jedi. I'm in the camp of Star Wars fans that likes the film, and even though I have some issues here and there, I mostly enjoy The Last Jedi. However, I'm not going to spew my personal feelings regarding the movie, but instead the notion that it's actively trying to let the past die and that there's some sort of meta-narrative that Rian Johnson is putting into The Last Jedi. I want to explain why both of these are completely wrong in my eyes, and also how the quotes "let the past die" has been awfully misconstrued. Just to be clear again, I do not believe that Rian Johnson was out to get Star Wars fans or flip them the middle finger, and I'll delve into that more today. Though the whole "let the past die" is a fuck you to Star Wars fans argument is supposed to be a strike against The Last Jedi, there are many supporters of the film that love this trait about it, which is funny because both camps are wrong. The point of The Last Jedi is not about letting the past die. Where does this misconception stem from though? Well, of course, the quote originally comes from Kylo Ren as he is talking to Rey when they are having one of their forced Skype calls. Apparently, just because Kylo Ren, the villain of the movie, says "let the past die," it automatically means that it's the ideology of the film. Well, no, but I see where this misunderstanding comes from, and I'll delve into that a bit. Kylo says "let the past die," but at the end of the film, the past does not die. Rey rejects Kylo's offer to burn everything and join him. Luke is not the last Jedi, the Rebels and the First Order are still at war, etc. Many critics of The Last Jedi see all of these things as contradictory. It's like they're taking Kylo's words as the theme of the movie, and when the movie itself proves him wrong at the end, they think the film is being hypocritical. You don't take a quote from a villain, paint it as the objective theme of the movie, and then when the past doesn't die, say that the film flip-flops. Point blank. The Last Jedi is about proving Kylo, and by extension Luke, wrong, and how the Jedi are important to the galaxy. By the way, I'm not saying that everything a villain says in a film is wrong. Like obviously when Darth Vader, for example, says in Empire that he is Luke's father, he is telling the truth. But I'm more referring to their ideology in this case. Kylo's way of thinking that the past should die and everything that he hates should burn is wrong, and that's proven in the film in multiple ways. The same goes for Luke, who is probably the most controversial aspect about The Last Jedi. I won't go into the characterization of Luke much, but what I will say is that the whole film is built upon proving Luke wrong too. Throughout the movie, Luke says "let the past die" in his own way by stating that it's time for the Jedi to end. He wants to bury the Jedi Order because of their repeated history of failure. He is wrong, as well as Kylo, and when he eventually sacrifices himself on Crate, he has learnt that the galaxy needs the legend of the Jedi, and more specifically, Luke Skywalker, for hope. Everyone mentions that the Broom Boy scene at the end is alluding to the theme of everyone can be a hero, which is not wrong, but I think there's more to it. I'll let Rian Johnson himself explain what I mean as he says the following.
The truth is, for me, that scene was, at the end with the kid, was more than nice, and it was more than... it wasn't really even about the kid and everyone can be a hero. It was about Luke and Luke's sacrifice. And to me, it was about Luke's ultimate act of coming back and accepting this mantle.
The idea of letting the past die is debunked in this movie time and time again. I mean, even Rose's corny "that's how we're going to win, not fighting what we hate but saving what we love" line is in reference to the "let the past die" idea. With Luke, he learns to not fight what he hates, aka the old dogmatic nature of the Jedi Order, but instead he saves what he loves, the good that the Jedi can bring to the galaxy. I believe if you study the thematic elements of The Last Jedi, you will find that the "let the past die" quotes can be debunked over and over. Fans have also said that The Last Jedi is, quote, burning the past because it mistreats Star Wars legacy objects, which I don't find that viewpoint to hold that much weight. Anakin's lightsaber is the example that everyone points to, since it is destroyed by Kylo and Rey on Snoke's ship. People say that Rian Johnson purposely broke the lightsaber to fuck with the fans, and to promote a meta-narrative about how nothing is sacred about Star Wars, or something. I don't think this was Rian's intention at all, and while I believe that the lightsaber being destroyed is supposed to be symbolic, it's not a malicious metaphor in the slightest. You see, Kylo and Rey are two sides of the same coin. They are literally two sides of a protagonist, said even by Rian Johnson in this interview.
The first Star Wars films, Vader was a great villain, but he was never someone that you identified with. You identified with Luke's relationship to him. Whereas, especially in the context of these stories being about, the transition from adolescence into adulthood. So you're identifying with Luke. He's the one going through that transition, and Vader is something he essentially has to navigate to get there. Whereas with Kylo is not really that for Rey. It's almost like Rey and Kylo are two halves of the protagonist. Rey the dark and Rey the light and Kylo the dark.
Rey and Kylo's relationship develops more and more. They start to understand each other and share a bond. This completely goes to shit after Kylo kills Snoke and he asks her to join him so that they can both let the past die and rule the universe. Rey declines this request because the film is not about letting the past die, and they start to fight over the lightsaber. It splits in half, and that's where the symbolism lies. Anakin's lightsaber is a symbol of good, and when they break it, the film is basically telling us that both sides of the protagonist, Rey and Kylo, are split apart. When the lightsaber breaks, that's not Rian Johnson saying fuck you to Star Wars fans. It breaks to represent how both sides of the protagonist have gone their separate ways. And for fuck's sake, the lightsaber even comes back when Luke shows up at Crate. A misconception I hear about Kylo's offer to Rey is that he wants balance, and the Jedi and the Sith need to go away to restore that. That's not really it, as Kylo is speaking out of anger and hate, and he wants the light and the dark side to die because he's been failed by both Luke and Snoke. He wants to forge a path ahead, but with himself at the helm, so he's ultimately thinking selfishly and incorrectly. The film points out that while there are people profiting off of war, there are people fighting for good things, and there are people fighting for bad things. And all of our protagonists at the end of The Last Jedi choose to fight for the good thing. Another argument I hear constantly is that the sacred Jedi tree gets blown up by Yoda, and that's saying fuck you to Star Wars fans. First of all, it's a fucking tree that we've literally never seen before until The Last Jedi. It's not even an artifact that we've seen used in the movies for decades like a lightsaber. It's a hollowed out tree, and when Yoda destroys it, it doesn't even have the Jedi textbooks inside. Rey takes those with her to Crate, and that's part of the reason why Yoda destroys the tree to begin with. I personally think the actual reason why he blows it up is to goad Luke into saving the day. But even still, Rey has the textbooks with her, and that's why Yoda claims that Rey has everything she needs. Even though this doesn't have much to do with the whole let the past die thing, I did want to defend Yoda's portrayal in The Last Jedi. I believe that Yoda was handled pretty perfectly in the movie, and the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because people have criticized him for acting too goofy. Fans have said that Yoda has only been goofy when he's trying to teach Luke patience in Empire, which is partly true. Yes, Yoda did act like a fucking lunatic to teach Luke a lesson, but he's also had comical moments after he drops the act both in Empire and Return of the Jedi. People have complained about Last Jedi Yoda hitting Luke with his stick. Well, he did the same after he dropped the act in Empire.
Never his mind on where he was. What he was doing.
People have also ranted about Last Jedi Yoda for cracking jokes when he's supposed to be stoic and serious. Well, he cracked the exact same kinds of jokes in Return of the Jedi.
When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not.
I mean, maybe you could say that in The Last Jedi he giggles for a bit too long. I'm not sure. I've always thought that Yoda was perfectly in character in The Last Jedi. Even if you discount both of those scenes from Empire and Return of the Jedi, I would then argue that Yoda acting goofy was another ploy to goad Luke into coming back into the fight. Similar to how R2-D2 earlier in the film reminded him of the past and showed him the Leia message. Even still, after a couple of jokes from Yoda, he becomes serious and gives Luke a valuable lesson about failure. Getting back to the point of this video, I can say with confidence that Let the Past Die is not the theme of The Last Jedi. Luke says his own version of Let the Past Die by claiming that the Jedi should end. And look at the climax of the movie.
I will not be the last Jedi.
He's proven wrong by Rey and Yoda. Rey is the person saying that the galaxy needs the legend of the Jedi, the legend of Luke Skywalker back, and she is right. Hope is restored in the galaxy at the end of the movie, and that's all because the past did not die, and the Jedi remain, leading with her and potentially other Force-sensitive people in the galaxy. Of course, I'm ruling out the rise of Skywalker in this scenario because nobody comes to the Resistance's side after Crate, but I digress. Additionally, Kylo destroys his helmet at the start of the movie, not because Rian Johnson is saying fuck you to Vader or anything, but because that's what was needed to develop Kylo. Instead of Kylo Ren being a Vader wannabe, he did what Vader couldn't and killed Snoke. That isn't disrespecting the past at all. If anything, making him a second-hand Vader and him bowing down to an Emperor figure would be disrespectful to these current characters. I believe that Kylo killing Snoke was awesome and necessary for his character. And even though Snoke not being explained is a valid criticism of The Last Jedi, it's not disrespectful to the old trilogy or Star Wars as a whole. Some nods to the past include the whole Canto Bight section, as much as people hate it, as it's the sequel trilogy's way of paying homage to the prequels. If you want to go down the road of other homages in The Last Jedi, I can point to the walkers on Crate, Han's Dice, how the flashbacks in the film are referencing Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa, who was the director of The Hidden Fortress, aka the movie that directly inspired George to make Star Wars. I'm telling you, Rian Johnson was not out to get Star Wars fans with The Last Jedi, and he even agrees that letting the past die is not the right way to go.
Kylo says that line, kill the past, whatever. It seems like your movie is also representative of that. Like, to move on with Star Wars, to move on to the future, you kind of have to let go of...
Well, it's an interesting aspect of it. It's an interesting theme. And it's, for me, the balance was... Because Kylo is saying that, and interestingly to me, Luke is kind of saying his own version of that as well. And... it's really Rey who is the balance, who I think, and Rey is where my heart lies in terms of in that theme and where we end up by the end of the movie.
After listening to Rian Johnson talk about The Last Jedi, it really opened my eyes about how he went about crafting the story. You're open to criticize the film all you want, that's completely fine, and I also have my problems with The Last Jedi, but you can't go around saying stuff that isn't true. Rian Johnson's heart lies with Rey about how the past should be celebrated and not torn down. You can also tell by these interviews that Rian tried to think this through, regardless of your opinion of the film. You can tell that he really tried to be authentic to the source, and was inspired by the things that George was inspired by when coming up with the original Star Wars. The legend of King Arthur and other tales that have been passed down were huge inspirations for The Last Jedi. It's obviously not based on the classic hero's journey, but rather the challenges that the hero faces when they're middle-aged and beyond, that tend to tackle much darker subjects. So yeah, Rian Johnson clearly loves Star Wars, and sure, you could argue that he doesn't all day, but I find it to be a ridiculous point. I just think the truth of the matter is that everyone gets something different out of Star Wars. Maybe that's a generational thing, or maybe it's due to the politics that the movies present, the type of media that George was basing Star Wars off of. I'm not really sure. Either way, Star Wars means something different for everyone, but one thing is for sure. The Last Jedi is about growing from the past, celebrating the good aspects of the past, and what makes the past so special.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star